to live God. Because today, when we look upon the earth and listen to the doctrine of men, we see that man has come up with a whole lot of things that's not necessarily written in the script.
What it has become is man's interpretation of things, and especially when we see things like biblical movies. Like this thing with
The Passion of Christ.
Mel Gibson. Have y'all noticed?
Based on lies.
Something come out about biblical stories, it's always white folks. Little do they know that we are the ones who should be playing those parts, but because we aren't being true, because we are out of position, then truly the nations are doing what they want to do, and the only thing that we can do is do what we've got to do, what Yahweh's charged us to do, so that His name will still be glorified here in this city, in Atlanta, in truth and in righteousness. But Brother Steve, read the office of the church and invite him who stands at the door that he may come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may continue to read out of this great legacy and consider what's in these pages, because Yahweh meant exactly what He said.
I'm going to read the oracles of the church beginning at 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins.
Amen.
Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man have received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim giveth, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yeshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim, for the anointed one's sake, have forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as their children, and walk in love, as the anointed one also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks.
Amen.
Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the church.
Amen. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church. What I thought I'd do today is go back in the beginning and lay a foundation. And when we finish with this series of classes, we should have the whole story from the Bible. I'd like to start our class in Genesis chapter 12.
Amen.
Genesis chapter 12, and pick that up at verse 1, my brother.
Verse 1. Now Yahweh had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing.
So he was going to make Abraham, if Abraham did what he told him to do, he was going to make Abraham a single great nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. And I will bless them that bless you, and curse him that curses you. And in you shall all families of the earth be blessed.
And in you, and in your seed, Abraham, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Now, brother, go over to chapter 11 and pick it up at verse 31.
And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came to Haran and dwelt there.
Mm-hmm.
And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran.
Chapter 12 and verse 4.
So Abram departed, as Yahweh had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and all the souls that they had gathered in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came.
Mm-hmm.
And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh. And the Canaanite was then in the land.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh appeared unto Abram and said, Unto your seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto Yahweh, who appeared unto him.
Mm-hmm.
And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto Yahweh, and called upon the name of Yahweh. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there. For the famine was grievous in the land.
13 and verse 12.
But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before Yahweh.
13.
Oh, I'm sorry.
12.
Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before Yahweh exceedingly.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see, to you will I give it, and to your seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall your seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto you.
Mm-hmm.
Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto Yahweh.
Chapter 15 and verse 1.
After these things, the word of Yahweh came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am your shield and your exceeding great reward.
Amen.
And Abram said, Yahweh Elohim, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir.
Mm-hmm.
And behold, the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of your own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And Abram believed in Yahweh, and he counted it to him for righteousness.
Mm.
And he said unto him, I am Yahweh, that brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Adonai Elohim, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve, will I judge. And afterwards shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
Now listen to what's said now, because a lot of people don't believe that this is the 400-year captivity. They believe that Yahweh made a 30-year mistake with the Egyptians' captivity. You know, in other words, Yahweh can't count. But so they believe that Yahweh made a 30-year mistake, or they try to figure out things in here to put it close to the 430 years, but it doesn't go. And the reason why it doesn't go is because of what's said in verse 16. It says, but in the 4th generation they shall come here again. They hadn't even been there. They hadn't even been there. See, it was only, who was here now? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Israel hadn't even been born. But what did he say? They shall come here again. In other words, they will be in the land and be out of the land and then return back to the land. Amen. In order to return again.
Amen.
Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 17.
See, this is why when you check history, after we came up out of Egypt, you can't find another 400-year captivity any place. No place in the book. But people say, well, I just don't believe it. Well, they entirely their belief, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's what the scripture has to say.
Amen.
Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace, and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day, Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto your seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenite, and the Kenizzites, and the Cadmonites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and Rephaims, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites.
Okay, now, my brother. Now, so far, the promise was concerning the land, a great nation, and a blessing that will come upon all nations through Abraham's seed. Plus, in the covenant concerning the Holy Land, a 400-year period of servitude and affliction in another land would expire. Then the seed would return again to the inheritance. Go ahead and pick it up in chapter 16, verse 1, brother.
Verse 1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, behold now, Yahweh have restrained me from bearing. I pray you, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes.
What did she expect? What did she expect? She gave her husband her handmaid? Go ahead and read, brother.
Genesis chapter 16, verse 5. And Sarai said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into your bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Yahweh judged between me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, behold, your maid is in your hand. Do to her as it pleases you. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of Yahweh found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, from where did you come? And where will you go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress, Sarai. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hands. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, I will multiply your seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, behold, you are with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh have heard your affliction.
Okay, my brother, skip over to chapter 17 in verse 1.
And when Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty El. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations.
Now you're not only going to be the father of one seed that's going to be as the sands of the seashore, you're going to be a father of many nations. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee.
Okay, my brother. Now, this promise produced, as we see, the promise that Yahweh gave Abraham produced Ishmael in Libya today, and the 6 sons in Genesis 25 of Keturah, the many Arabs of the middle that's in the Middle East today, along with the sons of Shem. Pick that up where you left off at, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 7. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a Elohim unto thee and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their Elohim. And Elohim said unto Abraham, you shall keep my covenant, therefore, you and your seed after you in their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after you. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man-child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of your seed. He that is born in your house, and he that is bought with your money, must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man-child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He have broken my covenant. And Elohim said unto Abraham, as for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto Elohim, oh, that Ishmael might live before you.
Yet he believed in Yahweh, and it was imputed to him for righteousness, right? Now he's saying, oh, that Ishmael might live before you. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 19. And Elohim said, Sarai your wife shall bear your son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Esau. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation.
Mm-hmm.
But my covenant will I establish with Esau, which Sarah shall bear unto you at the set time in the next year.
Now, according to the law, the firstborn was the one that inherited the blessings, right? Unless the father found some kind of iniquity in that child that he wouldn't have get that blessing. But we know that he loved Ishmael because Ishmael was his firstborn son, right? But yet and still, Yahweh said, I heard you about Ishmael. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 22. And he left off talking with him, and Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that was born in his house, and all that was bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the self same day, as Elohim had said unto him.
Mm-hmm.
And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin.
Okay, my brother. Now, so Abraham went on and circumcised all the males in his house, and it came to pass that 2 angels came and met Abraham and told him that they was going down and about the sins that was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. Look in the newspaper today. Look in the newspaper today. Here the king is trying to issue a decree that a marriage is between a man and a woman. I mean, how foolish can you get? What else could a marriage be between except a man and a woman? A man, he told him, say, be fruitful and multiply, right? 2 women can't multiply and 2 men can't multiply. All they do, and Paul even told them about men with men working that which is unseemly, and women with women, and earning to themselves a damnation. And the law says that mankind should not lie with mankind as with womankind, and womankind should not lie with womankind as is with mankind. All that do so are in an abomination to our God. So when we look on the street, they trying to make these judges grant things in this country and all the states. That's an abomination to the God of Israel. See, what they're doing is showing you how much they really care about righteousness. So because of their perverse sex act, Yahweh sent a couple of angels down there to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. But let's pick this up, what happened after he got Lot and Lot's 2 daughters out of that city. Let's go into chapter 19, my brother, and pick it up at verse 22.
Brother, obviously they misunderstood what the word said. He said multiply, not mustify.
Right, brother, you're absolutely right. But man don't want to deal with that. See, what man want to do what man want to do, and then fall down on his knees and say, well, Yahweh, you made me like this, so it must be all right. No, he didn't make you like that. He made you a male or a female. You decided you want to be something else.
And they gone hog wild with that thing out in California.
Right. People talking about, well, kids are born like this. No, you're not born homosexual. These are tendencies that people develop from the youth up. Chapter 19, brother, and pick that up at verse 22.
Genesis 19, verse 22.
Mm-hmm.
Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come thither.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then Yahweh rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahweh out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt.
Right. Don't look back. But she looked back because she wanted to see the works, the wonderful works that was being done on Sodom and Gomorrah. Go ahead.
Was that the Dead Sea? Was that the Dead Sea?
No, it's on the other side of the Dead Sea. On this side of the Dead Sea, brother.
I know in teaching science, we talked about how salty the Dead Sea was, and we talked about could nothing grow in it. Mm-hmm. So I was wondering if that was the Dead Sea.
Well, it's on this side of the Dead Sea. And my actual belief of that, my brothers, also, that this devastation was what caused the Dead Sea to become a salt sea. Because when you look around, brother, the closest salt there is the Mediterranean. And that's a pretty good distance away. That's about 300 miles away from there, brother. You know, so, yeah. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Genesis 19, verse 27. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before Yahweh, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in the which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose.
He must have really been drunk. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 34. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go you in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Benamiah. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day.
So these are the Jordanian Arabs that's in Israel today, calling themselves the Palestinians, right? The Gentiles say they're Israel, and Lot's 2 boys over there are saying that they're the Palestinians, and the Israelis saying they're the Jews. And everybody, I listen to people talking about all the Gentiles going into captivity. And I wonder, well, if the Gentiles are all the nations, then who are they going into captivity under? Chapter 21, and pick that up at verse 1, my brother.
And Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived, and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which Elohim had spoken to him.
Now, if Yahweh made a 30-year mistake in Genesis, in the book of Genesis, and he told this woman he was going to come back the next year, then she might not have had that baby for another 30 years, huh? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 3. And Abram called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Esau.
Mm-hmm.
And Abraham circumcised his son Esau, being 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Esau was born unto him. And Sarah said, Elohim have made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew, and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Esau was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Esau.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And Elohim said unto Abraham, Let it not be grievous in your sight because of the lad, and because of your bondwoman. In all that Sarah hath said unto you, hearken unto her voice. For in Esau shall your seed be called.
And a reference for that is Romans 9, verse 8 through verse 15. What this shows us is that Yahweh have a tendency to choose the things that he wants to choose, regardless of what man has to say. But then what happened is man find fault in these things. Chapter 22 and verse 1. Man can't find out, well, according to the law, the firstborn was supposed to do this, and the firstborn was supposed to do that. This is Yahweh's earth. He do with it what he wants to. Chapter 22, and pick that up at verse 1.
And it came to pass after these things that Elohim did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And Yahweh said, Take now your son, your only son Esau, whom you love, and get you into the land of Moriah, and offer him therefore a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell you of.
Right. You see what Yahweh said? Take Esau, your only son. In other words, he blessed Ishmael, told him 11 princes he's going to get, 12 princes he's going to get, right? But the covenant was made with Isaac. Isaac was the seed that Yahweh had already chose before the child was even conceived in the womb. Go ahead and read, brother.
Genesis chapter 22, verse 3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Esau his son, and cleaved the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which Elohim had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide you here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Esau his son, and he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Esau spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And Esau said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, Elohim will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which Elohim had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Esau his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of Yahweh called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And the angel said, Lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do you anything unto him. But now I know that you fear Elohim, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place, Yahweh will provide, as it is said to this day. In the mount of Yahweh it shall be seen.
And if you notice, he didn't say that you didn't withhold your only son from Yahweh. He said, the angel said, you didn't withhold your son from me. Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 15. And the angel of Yahweh called unto Abraham out of heaven the 2nd time, and said, By myself have I sworn, says Yahweh, for because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou have obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Micah, she have also borne children unto your brother Nahor.
Okay, my brother, go to chapter 23 and verse 1.
And Sarah was 127 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, the same as Hebrew, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burial place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight.
24:1.
And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and Yahweh had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray you, your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by Yahweh, the Elohim of heaven, and the Elohim of the earth, that you shall not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. But you shall go unto my country, and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Esau.
Now, this is the way that things are supposed to be done. People are supposed to marry in their families. Like it told us in the law book, do not pollute your holy seed. But today, we get it that everybody's equals and everybody the same, and Yahweh loves everybody. So now, this coming through the civil rights movement, this gives us legal authority to marry anybody we want, regardless of what Yahweh had to say. My brother, why don't you go over to pick this up. I'm not going to read that about them getting Rebecca. Let's go to chapter 25 and pick that up at verse 25 and verse 1. Chapter 25 and verse
1. Verse 1. Then again Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimran, and Yokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shuah. And Yokshan begat Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashiram, and Letushim, and Leumim.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Midian, Ephah, and Epher, and Hanok, and Abidah, and Eldaah. All these were the sons of Keturah.
Mm-hmm.
And Abraham gave all that he had unto Esau. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Esau his son, while he yet lived, eastward unto the east country.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, 175 years. Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Esau and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar, the Hittite, which is before Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth. There was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham, that Elohim blessed his son Esau, and Esau dwelt by the well Lahai-Roi.
With the birth of the 6 sons by Keturah, now we have many Shemite nations. Yet a single seed would possess all the nations upon the earth. Now, brother, let's go into chapter 26 and pick that up at chapter 26 and verse 5. Now, I'll tell you what you do, brother. Let's go. Where were you at?
I was in chapter 20, 25, verse 11.
Verse 11? Okay, skip over to verse 19.
And these are the generations of Esau, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Esau, and Esau was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Pandanaram, the sister to Laban, the Syrian. And Esau entreated Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto Rebekah, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from your bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Mm-hmm.
And when Rebekah's days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Esau was 60 years old when she bare him.
Mm-hmm.
And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Esau loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sought pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray you, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day your birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me?
So he didn't care nothing about holy things, and the only thing he cared about was something to fill his belly with. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 33. And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And Esau sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
Chapter 26 and verse 5. I tell you what, my brother. Go ahead and pick it up at 26 and 1.
And there was a famine in the land, beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Esau went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And Yahweh appeared unto him and said, go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell you of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and will bless you. For unto you and unto your seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham your father. And I will make your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto your seed all these countries, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws.
Okay, my brother. Now, here we see the promise of Abraham passed to Esau concerning a nation, the Holy Land, and a seed through which all the nations of the earth would be blessed, right? Galatians chapter 3. Hold your place there. Galatians chapter 3, and read verse 13 through verse 16, my brother. Galatians chapter 3, and verse 13 through verse 16.
The Anointed One had redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree, that the blessing of Abraham might come on the Euro Gentiles through Yeshua HaMashiach, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. Brethren, I speak after the manner of men. Though it be but a man's covenant, yet if it be confirmed, no man disannulleth or addeth thereto. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He says not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to your seed, which is the Messiah.
So the Messiah would be the nation of Israel, would be the one that produced the Messiah, that would be a blessing to all of the nations upon the earth that came to him, but not the way the nations are talking about today. Everything had to be done decently and in order and according to the Word of God. Now, brother, go into chapter 27 and pick that up at verse 1.
Verse 1. And it came to pass that when Esau was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. And Esau said, Behold now, I am old, I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray you, your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die.
Mm-hmm.
And Rebekah heard when Esau spoke to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard your father speak unto Esau your brother, saying, Bring me some venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless you before Yahweh before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to that which I command you. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for your father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to your father, that he may eat, and that he may bless you before his death.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be your curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched, and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who are you, my son?
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray you, sit and eat of my venison, that your soul may bless me. And Esau said unto his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh your Elohim brought it to me. And Esau...
Seems like a lot of treachery, doesn't it? Yeah, but it's the Lord's will that things get done like this. Now go ahead. Like I keep telling folks, folks say Yahweh is great, and God is good, and we thank him for this food. He will deceive you too. Go ahead and read it, brother.
Verse 20. And Esau said unto his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh your Elohim brought it to me. And Esau said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray you, that I may feel you, my son, whether you be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Esau his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hand, so he blessed him. And he said, Are you my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son venison, that my soul may bless you. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Esau said unto him, Come near now and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which Yahweh hath blessed. Therefore Elohim give you of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be Adonai over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone that curses you, and blessed be he that blesses you.
And these blessings did fall upon the children of Jacob, didn't they? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 30. And it came to pass, as soon as Esau had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone from the presence of Esau his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father rise, and eat of his son's venison, that your soul may bless me. And Esau his father said unto him, who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. And Esau trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten of all before you came, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, your brother came with subtlety, and have taken away your blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me?
He shouldn't get a blessing. He sold his birthright. Jacob didn't take away anything. He sold it for some partridge. And I always ask, what is our price? What is our price that we willing to give up our salvation for? Go ahead, brother.
I'm thinking sometimes that those spirits have come through different families, because they say all Israel is not Israel. And that same spirit that has been Cain and Abel, and he said, am I my brother's keeper? And it's the same spirit that keeps reoccurring and showing up through families and through nations up to this very time right now.
Right, because him and his fallen angels are in prison on this earth.
They haven't fought the war yet, but they are imprisoned on this earth. The only time Satan has access day and night. Now we know that Satan has access to heaven day and night, but those spirits has been here since the garden, and they're going to be here until they get cast into the outer void when the Messiah returns.
So you tell them that you know about the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. There's nothing about love. And so when you get us in a situation like we find ourselves here in this particular sojourn, it's never going to work out, because that man's going to always take whatever it is that you got, and he's going to always attempt to destroy that he's got. It has nothing to do with brotherly love whatsoever.
Yeah, I understand that, brother. And like you said, all Israel is not all Israel. We got some Israelites right around here that play the same game. They're still playing the same game. You see, so truly, all Israel is not of Israel. But when he was talking about that, really, when he made that statement, he was really referring to the Gentiles being spiritual Israel. Go ahead, but you're absolutely right there, brother. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Genesis chapter 27, verse 37. And Esau answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him your Adonai, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. And with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto you, my son? And Esau said unto his father, have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Esau his father answered and said unto him, behold, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above.
Isn't it like that way? Like it said in Obadiah, how are the things of Esau searched out? He sets his nest among the stars. The stars that's in Revelation 12 chapter that was on the crown of the woman that was in heaven. So he was going to set his nest among the children of Israel, right? And with each empire that came in upon us, Esau helped them. And even in the New Testament, it was against the law for anybody to say that they was king but Caesar. But wasn't Herod called the king of Judea? Okay. Go on to read, brother.
Genesis chapter 27, verse 40. And by your sword shall thou live, and shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass, when you shall have the dominion, that you shall break his yoke from off your neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, behold, your brother Esau is touching you, does comfort himself, purposing to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise and flee you to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days, until your brother's fury turn away, until your brother's anger turn away from you, and he forget that which you have done to him. Then I will send and fetch you from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Esau, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? And Esau called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Pandanaram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take you a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And Elohim Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may be a multitude of people, and give you the blessing of Abraham to you and to your seed with you, that you may inherit the land wherein you are a stranger, which Elohim gave unto Abraham. And Esau sent away Jacob, and he went to Pandanaram unto Laban, son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. When Esau saw that Esau had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Pandanaram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, and that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and was gone to Pandanaram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Esau his father, then went Esau into Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. And Jacob went out from Beersheba, and went toward Haran, and he lighted upon a certain place, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took up the stones of that place, and put them for his pillows, and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. And behold, Elohim stood above it and said, I am Yahweh Elohim of Abraham your father, and the Elohim of Esau. The land whereon thou liest, to you will I give it, and to your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with you, and will keep you in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awake out of his sleep and said, surely Yahweh is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place! This is none other but the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put for his pillows, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was called Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if El will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall Yahweh be my Elohim. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be Elohim's house, and of all that you shall give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee.
Okay, my brother. Now, once again, the promise fell to Yaakov concerning the Holy Land, Yaakov's children, and a blessing of all the families of the earth through Yaakov's seed, right? Now, let's go into chapter 29 and pick that up at verse 1.
Then Yaakov went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east.
He went over to Keturah's son, where Abraham had sent them when he gave them their blessings. Go ahead, brother.
Verse.
Yeah.
That was actually Haran, which is Canaan land. That's where Nahor had his children. So Rebekah, they were in Syria. That was Abraham's brother's family.
You're absolutely correct. But it's quite a bit of that land over there that was given to Abraham's sons, because the land that was because of the land mass that was given to Abraham. So you're probably right, my sister. Go ahead.
The Syrians today, Gentiles.
Sure. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 2.
But look at the Egyptians today.
Oh yeah. I told an Egyptian once out at the flea market on 85, and he got really ticked off at me. I said, what you see over in Egypt now is not what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he really got angry at me.
Of course, brother. But he can look where he is to tell he's in the wrong lane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Elder, it's another thing when you go to those so-called Egyptologists, and when they come out with one of them that's supposed to be of Arab descent, they obviously not look at history, because then they would understand that they're not people that's there.
Folks don't look at ancient history, brother. Folks look at what's going on today, what went on in the last 200 or 300 years. They don't want to go back and get to digging, because there's a lot of people to find out we're in the wrong land. See, so to keep all that mess from coming up, remember when the Rome fell, they divided the whole earth among themselves. There's a lot of people in the wrong land. And since then, people have fought other people. Look at the wars that went on in the Middle East between Iraq and Iran and Syria and Saudi Arabia and all those folks over there, brother. People are getting moved around. Nations getting moved around.
Because they believe those people that's over there now believe that they're supposed to be from Egypt all the way over to the Euphrates, and they will keep a lot of dissensions on those two.
Of course. Of course. Who want to give up Egypt, brother? It's just like the Palestinians and Esau trying to give up Israel. They can't. They can't. There's too much value tied to the land. There's too much history, too many blessings tied to it. So they can't give it up. See. Well, go ahead and read, Steve.
Genesis chapter 29, verse 1. Then Yaakov went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Yaakov said unto them, My brethren, from where you be? And they said, Of Haran are we. And he said unto them, Know you Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And Yaakov said unto them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, We cannot, until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stones from the well's mouth, then we water the sheep. And while he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Yaakov went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Yaakov kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Yaakov told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, Surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, Because you are my brother, should you therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall your wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters, and the name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to you, than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel. And they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter, and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah his maid for an handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What is this you have done to me? Did not I serve with you for Rachel?
Ain't no sense in asking about that now, buddy. Yeah, shouldn't have got drunk, and should have lit a candle. Go on and read, brother.
Why then have you beguiled me? And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give you this also for the service which you shall serve with me yet 7 other years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife also. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah her handmaid to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. And when the Adonai saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, Surely Yahweh have looked upon my affliction, now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, Because Yahweh have heard that I was hated, he have therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, Now will I praise Yahweh. Therefore she called his name Yehudah, and left bearing. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in Elohim's stead, who have withheld from you the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife, and Jacob went in unto her. And Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, Elohim have judged me, and have also heard my voice, and have given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali.
So this thing was the thing that was going down between these 2 sisters. Jacob was just caught up in the middle, huh? Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. Verse 11. And Leah said, a troop cometh. And she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray you, of your son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, is it a small matter that you have taken my husband? And would you take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes.
Right. You can have him tonight if you give me these mandrakes. These sisters playing game big time, brother. But go ahead and read.
Verse 16. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in unto me, for surely I have hired you with my son's mandrake. And he lay with her that night. And Elohim hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the fifth son. And Leah said, Elohim have given me my high, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, Elohim have endowed me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, Elohim have taken away my reproach. And she called his name Yosef, and said, Yahweh shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Yosef, that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go unto my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done you. And Laban said unto him, I pray you, if I have found favor in your eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that Yahweh have blessed me for your sake.
Chapter 32 and verse 1, my brother.
32 and verse 1. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of Elohim met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, this is Elohim's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, thus shall you speak unto my Adonai Esau. Your servant Jacob says, thus I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there unto now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my Adonai that I may find grace in your sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet you, and 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks, and the herds, and the camels, into 2 bands, and said, if Esau come to the one company, and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O Elohim of my father Abraham, and Elohim of my father Esau, Yahweh which said unto me, return unto your country and to your kindred, and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown unto your servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 bands. Deliver me, I pray you, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. And you said, I will surely do you good, and make your seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude.
Verse 22.
And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Yabok. And he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let you go, except you bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince have you power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray you, your name. And he said, Why is it that you do ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen El face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of his thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank.
35 and 1, brother.
You never seen Yahweh any time. The angels are also, they call them gods, they call the children of Israel gods also. So you never see Yah, but he was the angel, he's also the God.
Let's find out. Hosea chapter 12. Hosea chapter 12, my brother, and pick that up at verse 1.
Hosea chapter 12, verse 1. Ephraim feedeth on wind, and followeth after the east wind. He daily increases lies and desolation, and they do make a covenant with the Assyrians, and all is carried into Egypt. Yahweh have also a controversy with Yehudah, and will punish Jacob according to his ways. According to his doings will he recompense him. He took his brother by the heel in the womb, and by his strength he had power with Elohim. Yea, he had power over the angel, and prevailed. He wept, and made supplication unto him. He found him in Bethel, and there he spake with us.
So we can understand it was an angel that he wrestled with, right? Okay. Let's go back to Hosea chapter 2 and pick that up, my brother, at chapter 35, right? Chapter 35 and verse 1. Genesis chapter 35 and verse
1. And Elohim said unto Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make there an altar unto Elohim that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said unto his household, and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments, and let us arise, and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto Elohim, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all the earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the oak, which was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of Elohim was upon the cities that were round about them, and they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is Bethel, he and all the people that were with him. And he built there an altar, and called the place El Bethel, because there Elohim appeared unto him, when he fled from the face of Esau. But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak. and the name of it was called Elam Bashut. And Elohim appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Pandanaram and blessed him. And Elohim said unto him, Your name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. And he called his name Israel. And Elohim said unto him, I am Elohim Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of you, and kings shall come out of your loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Esau, to you will I give it, and to your seed after you will I give the land. And Elohim went up from him in the place where he talked with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone. And he poured a drink offering down, and he poured oil down. And Jacob called the name of the place where Elohim spake with him, Bethel. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath, and Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, you shall have this son also. And it came to pass, as her soul was in departing, for she died, that she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. And Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And Jacob set a pillar upon her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. And Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Edom. And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in that land, that Reuben went and laid with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, and Levi, and Yehuda, and Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin, and the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, which were born to him in Pandanaram. And Jacob came unto Esau his father, unto Mamre, unto the city of Arba, which is Hebron, where Abraham and Esau sojourned. And the days of Esau were 180 years. And Esau gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people, being old and full of days. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him.
Now the nation of Yahweh's choosing is upon the earth in the Holy Land. And from henceforth the salvation of mankind is dependent upon Yahweh's dealing with mankind through the promises and covenants made with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Israel, our nation. This is why the centerpiece of the scripture is the 12 tribes of Israel, the nation who wrote, preserved, walked in, and taught the mysteries of Yahweh to the residue of man. So eventually what happened, Jacob became a famine upon the land, and Jacob sent his sons down in Egypt. Of course, they had by this time the brothers had already hated Joseph because of the dreams that Joseph had, and they sold him down into Egypt. And then that was the only place they can get corn. So after the second time they went down there, Joseph finally made himself known to his brothers, and they went back and they got the father and brought the father down in Egypt to sojourn in Egypt. Now let's pick this up at Genesis chapter 47 and verse 27. Chapter 47 and verse 27.
Where did they get the word Semitic from? And did it derive from Shem?
Instead of saying
Shemitic, they call it Semitic.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, bro. You have to watch this English language. It's still evolving. A whole lot of things used to mean one thing, don't mean that no more. Because when I was coming up, you call somebody gay, you meant they're happy. Right? Now when you call somebody gay, you mean they're funny. Genesis 47 And pick that up at verse 27.
And Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, so the whole age of Jacob was 147 years. And the time drew nigh that Israel must die. And he called his son Joseph, and said unto him, If now I have found grace in your sight, put, I pray you, your hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray you, in Egypt. But I will lie with my fathers, and you shall carry me out of Egypt, and bury me in their burial place. And he said, I will do as you have said. And he said, Swear unto me. And he sware unto him. And Israel bowed himself upon the bed's head. And it came to pass after these things, that one told Joseph, Behold, your father is sick. And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob and said, Behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, Elohim Almighty appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make of you a multitude of people, and will give this land to your seed after you for an everlasting possession. And now your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto you in the land of Egypt before I came unto you into Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine.
Now we had a half tribe of Ephraim and a half tribe of Manasseh, which would make up the house of Joseph. Now go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 6, And your issue, which you beget after them, shall be yours, and shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance. And as for me, when I came from Pandanaram, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way, when yet there was but a little way to come unto Ephrath, and I buried her there in the way of Ephrath, the same as Bethlehem. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons, and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, These are my sons.
Now, long as he been there, he didn't know that Joseph had two sons. Go ahead and read, brother.
And Joseph said unto his father, They are my sons, whom Elohim have given me in this place. And he said, Bring them, I pray you, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not thought to see your face, and lo, Elohim hath showed me also your seed. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel stretched out his right hand, and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hand wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph, and said, Elohim, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the Elohim which fed me all my life long unto this day, the angel which redeemed me from evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them, and let the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. And he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto Israel, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put your right hand upon his head. And Israel refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations.
This is where the United States and Great Britain got from Herbert Armstrong that they are Ephraim and Manasseh. But go ahead and read it, brother.
Verse 20. And he blessed them that day, saying, in thee shall Israel bless, saying, Elohim make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, behold, I die, but Elohim shall be with you, and bring you again unto the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to you one portion above your brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together, and hear, you sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, you shall not excel, because you went up to your father's bed. Then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi, brethren, instruments of cruelty are in their habitation. O my soul, come not you into their secret. Unto their assembly, mine honor, be not you united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall.
Not only a man, they slew all the young men in the city and then tore down the wall. Why? Because they raped their sister Dinah. Maybe Dinah should have stayed with her family and maybe she shouldn't have went to see how the African women was faring in the land. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 7. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Yehuda, you are he whom your brethren shall praise. Your hand shall be in the neck of your enemies. Your father's children shall bow down before you. Yehuda is a lion whelp. From the prey, my son, you are gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
Amen.
Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass coat unto the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Sidon. Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel.
We know that Samson came out of Dan, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for thy salvation, O Yahweh. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is an hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. Yosef is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him, and shot at him, and hated him. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty El of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Even by the El of your father, who shall help you, and by the Almighty, who shall bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessing of the breast and of the wounds. The blessings of your fathers have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bounds of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is it that their father spake unto them and blessed them. Every one according to his blessing he blessed them. And Israel charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite for a possession of a burial place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and of the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. And when Israel had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed, and yielded up the ghost, and was gathered unto his people. And Joseph fell upon his father's face, and wept upon him, and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days.
And the Egyptians mourned for Jacob 70 days. The Egyptians mourned for Jacob 70 days. So obviously, we were held in an abomination to the Egyptians because we ate their God, but obviously they loved the children of Israel to mourn for their father that long, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 4.
So this lets us know that right along in this time here, we weren't in captivity. We were doing all right, weren't we? Joseph is still commanding, isn't he? Well, if Joseph ruled Egypt for 60 years, how could we be in bondage for 400 and be afflicted 430 years? It don't make sense. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave, which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, there shall you bury me. Now, verse 4. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave, which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, there shall you bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray you, and bury my father, and I will come again. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, according as he made you swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph, and his brethren, and his father's house. Only their little ones, and their flocks, and their herds, they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan, and there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. For his sons carried him into the land of Canaan, and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field for a possession of a burial place of Ephron the Hittite before Mamre. And Joseph returned into Egypt, he and his brethren, and all that went up with him to bury his father, after he had buried his father.
Okay, my brother, Exodus chapter 1, and I'll pick that up at verse 1.
Verse 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Yehuda, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation.
Mm-hmm.
And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Python, and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Pur. And he said, When you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
2 and 1.
And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to you a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, and she said, Because I drew him out of the water.
Verse 23.
And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto Elohim by reason of the bondage. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And Elohim looked upon the children of Israel, and Elohim had respect unto them.
Now we know that this is during the last 80 years that our fathers was in captivity, because when Moses left, he was 40 years old, and he stayed gone 40 years, and when he came back, he was 80, right? So we can very well see that our people did not serve and were not afflicted in Egypt for 400 years. Well, go ahead and read, brother. But then we're going to go and cover where they got that from. But when we read the context of it, you'll see he's not really talking about what people think he's talking about. Go ahead, brother.
Exodus chapter 3, verse 1. Now Moshe kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of Elohim, even to Horeb. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And Moshe looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, while the bush is not burnt. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not near hither. Put off your shoes from off your feet, for the place wherein you stand is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the El of thy father, the El of Abraham, the El of Isaac, and the El of Jacob. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows, and I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land unto a good land, and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Come now, therefore, and I will send you unto Pharaoh, that you may bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt.
Okay, my brother, let's go into chapter 12 and pick that up at verse 1 and verse 12.
Chapter 12, verses 1 through 12.
No, pick it up at chapter 12 and verse 1.
Oh.
I don't know where I'm going to stop at in there. We'll pick it up at chapter 12 and verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak you unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it up unto the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
Shall kill it in the evening, right? Well, when does the evening come? The evening comes when the sun sets. You have the afternoon, then you have twilight, and then after twilight, you have evening. Okay, when the sun goes down. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 7. And they shall take of the blood, and shall strike it on the two side posts, and on the upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the pertinence thereof.
So they had to eat it that night of the 14th, right? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 10. And you shall let nothing of it remain unto the morning. And that which remaineth of it unto the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh.
Amen.
And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
This day. 1 day, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread.
Now he's going into something else, isn't he? Huh? Go ahead, brother.
Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your house.
Now with Passover, he told them what they had to eat with Passover, right? You had to have bitter greens with it, and bitter greens and unleavened bread, right? But when he went into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, if you check the law book, it was a bunch of different animals that were sacrificed on the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Go ahead and read, brother.
For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 16. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation.
Well, Passover is not a holy. Passover is not a Sabbath. He was talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? This why when you get in the New Testament, it said that day was a high day, because the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a Sabbath, fell on the regular Sabbath. Go ahead and read, brother.
And in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 17. And you shall observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread, for in the selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever.
Mm-hmm.
In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even.
Okay, let's count those days. You had the 14th, the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. That's 8 days, ain't it? Mm-hmm. Well, why is people telling me you got to eat Passover on the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Go on and read it, man.
Verse 19. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land.
You could have leavening in your house on Passover, you just couldn't eat it. But on the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you had to get it out of the house. So go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitation shall you eat unleavened bread. Then Moshe called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, Draw out and take your lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For Yahweh will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, Yahweh will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when you be come to the land which Yahweh will give you, according as he hath promised, that you shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, What mean you by this service? That you shall say, It is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshiped. And the children of Israel went away and did as Yahweh had commanded Moshe and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahweh smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne, unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house, was not one dead. And Pharaoh called for Moshe and Aaron by night and said, Rise up and get you forth from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve Yahweh as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Egyptians were urging upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, We be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading trough, being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moshe, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians.
Mm-hmm.
And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot. There were men beside children.
Now, Succoth is 20 miles from Ramses. So they marched to Succoth. This was during the day of the 14th. They had already eaten Passover the evening of the 14th, right? Now they come to the day of the 14th. Now go ahead and read, Steve.
Verse 8:38. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual.
If they stopped and they set up camp and baked bread, that had to be during the 15th night, the beginning of the 15th. They camped, because they camped at night. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 40. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years.
So they've had Passover, and now they baked the unleavened cakes for the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which comes on the 15th of the month, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 41. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass, that all the host of Yahweh went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of Yahweh to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations. And Yahweh said unto Moshe and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then he shall eat thereof.
Mm-hmm.
A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you, and will keep the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, but no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof.
Okay, my brother, I want you to skip over to chapter 13 and pick that up at verse 20.
And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness.
Okay, so now we're going into to the 15th night, right? I mean, we're going into the 15th night, right? Go ahead, brother.
And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them by the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night, from before the people.
Okay, now let's pick this up. We already did the 15th night. Now let's do the 15th day. Go ahead, brother.
Exodus chapter 14, verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel that they turn and encamp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-Zephon. Before it shall you encamp by the sea.
Mm-hmm.
For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land, the wilderness have shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, that the Egyptians may know that I am Yahweh. And they did so. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, And the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people, and they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot, and took his people with him, and he took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with a high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea beside Pi-hahiroth before Baal-Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto Yahweh. And they said unto Moshe, because there was no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Why have you dealt thus with us? Why have you dealt thus with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell you in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moshe said unto the people, fear you not, stand still, and see the salvation of Yahweh, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. Yahweh shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace.
Amen.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, why do you cry unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift you up your rod, and stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. And I will give me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the angel of Elohim, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from before their face, and stood behind them.
Now we know we's in the daytime because it was a pillar of cloud in the day and was a fire by night, right? So we know that we already went through Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? Go ahead. Now we're going into the night of the first fruits. We know that our night begins our day, right? So now we're going into the night of the first fruits. But go ahead and read it, brother.
Verse 20. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and there was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided.
Mm-hmm.
And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horses. And it came to pass that in the morning watch Yahweh looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels so that they drove them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahweh fighteth for them against the Egyptians. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, stretch out your hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moshe stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it, and Yahweh overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walk upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus Yahweh saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw the great work which Yahweh did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared Yahweh and believed Yahweh and his servant Moshe.
Okay, my brother. Now let's go into Jeremiah chapter 2, and we're going to pick this up at verse 1 through verse 3, my brother. Jeremiah chapter 2, and verse 1 through verse 3. Yes, sir. There was a sacrifice in Egypt, weren't there? Okay. Just like he told our people when he brought the Medes and the Persians up on the Babylonians. He said, "I gave Egypt and Ethiopia for you." Right? Egypt, Ethiopia, and Seba for you, didn't he? Okay. Yeah.
When you're talking about the honor of the Messiah and the honor of the Creator, that honor is not all glory as people think it is. They have wrath following within that honor, right? I mean, just to show people.
It has to be on. It has to be rare. I mean, if Yahweh just gave you good all the time, you stop believing on him pretty soon. Because you have everything you want. He got to give you the good with the bad, and mostly bad to make you cleave to him. That's why Jacob said that his days was miserable upon the earth. He ain't had no good days upon the earth, right? Right. Jeremiah 2, and read verse 1 through verse 3, my brother.
Moreover, the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying, Thus says Yahweh, I remember thee, the kindness of thy youth, the love of thine espousals, when thou wentest after me in the wilderness, in a land that was not sown. Israel was holiness unto Yahweh, and the first fruits of his increase. All that devour him shall offend, evil shall come upon them, says Yahweh.
In other words, okay, so he passed over their sins, right? And then he brought them to himself, keeping them unleavened. That's why they baked their unleavened cakes on the day of unleavened bread. And then, when they crossed the Red Sea on the 16th day of the month, they became the first fruits to Yahweh and the Lamb, right? Brother, you got that book?
Yes, sir.
Read that out. This is from the Wars of the Jews.
In the month of Xanthicus, which is by us called Nisan, and is the beginning of our year, on the 14th day of the lunar month, when the sun is in Aries, for in this month it was that we were delivered from bondage under the Egyptians. The law ordained that we should every year slay that sacrifice which I before told you we slew when we came out of Egypt, and which was called the Passover. And so do we celebrate this Passover in companies, leaving nothing of what we sacrificed to the day following.
So you couldn't leave none of that Passover on the Feast of First Fruits, could you? I mean, on the day of unleavened bread. You had to eat it before the morning came, didn't you? Go ahead, brother.
The Feast of Unleavened Bread succeeds that of the Passover and falls on the 15th day of the month, and continues 7 days wherein they feed on unleavened bread.
That's the 15th day of the month, right? Well, it didn't say you ate Passover on the 15th day, did it? It said you ate it on the 14th, and the 15th day was the day of unleavened bread. So when folks get to talking to y'all about between the two evenings and all that junk, you know what it is, a bunch of junk. See, folks always got to find something new to try to throw something over here. You know why? Because they know they're wrong. See. Go ahead and read it, brother.
Yes, sir. On every one of which days 2 bulls are killed, and 1 ram and 7 lambs.
On every day they kill 1 bull, 2 rams and 7 lambs, right? Go ahead, brother.
Now these lambs are entirely burnt, beside the kid of the goat, which is added to all the rest for sins. For it is intended as a feast for the priests on every one of those days.
Mm-hmm.
But on the 2nd day of unleavened bread, which is the 16th day of the month,
the Feast of First Fruits. See? Now this is a historian that lived in those times, back in the Romans days, right? So he's telling us what took place, but the things that people are getting today, they're getting from Edomite rabbis and Gentiles, they call themselves scholars in our history. They like to tell us what we did. Like they tell us, say, well, you had to see the sliver of the new moon before you can know the new moon is coming. The biggest lie I've ever been told. People knew the new moon was coming before it even came. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Cast out of the land?
Huh?
Have the Edomites ever been removed out of the land?
Out of our land?
Out of Israel.
They left out of Israel during the time after Jerusalem fell, brother. They moved. That's when they moved up into Europe, because they didn't have nobody. Wasn't nothing in there for to rule over you. If you go on the internet and read the letters of Titus, Titus told you he tore down Jerusalem to the bedrock.
Obadiah tells you that he was going to destroy Tina's land.
Right, right. So they did move into Europe because of the fact that his land has already been destroyed. And they had moved up into Jerusalem. The Romans had put them in place. Then they left and went over to Europe. And if you notice, when they start coming back to the land, didn't they come out of Europe? Well, according to Josephus, they sold the Hebrews to the Egyptians to work in the salt mines.
He said, Esau said, I'm impoverished, but we return and build a big place.
Right, and that's what they've done. That's what they've done. They've returned. It told us that he was going to take our place. Say, come on, let us take these two lands where the Lord was there, right? So what we do, we go in here, we read about the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and the Feast of First Fruits, and here Josephus saying the same thing, right? Now let's go into Leviticus 23 and see if Leviticus 23 says the same thing. Yeah.
Leviticus 33, we have to get back that in the error, because it says in the 15th day, that was the night the children of Israel journeyed out of the land.
They did.
But we just read the 14th day.
Well, no, they didn't leave Egypt the 14th day. They went 20 miles in Egypt the 14th day. They really didn't leave Egypt till they crossed the Red Sea. That's 3 days later. Check your distances. There's no way that 500,000 men, besides women and children, and all those cattle and everything, they marched 20 miles to Sukkoth, where they put the thing together, where they put the camps together, and then they left there, and then they marched all the way to the Red Sea.
I understand that, but they said the city of Ramses.
City of Ramses, that's where they left it. That's where it was living at, city of Ramses. Ramses city was built up in, you had Ramses and you had Goshen, right? Well, our people was building the treasures of Ramses in Egypt, but they lived in Goshen. So people came out of Egypt, they came out of Goshen, they came out of Sukkoth. A lot of folks went and they met together at Sukkoth. It was 20 miles away. Ain't no way all them folks could have did that in between the time they left Egypt in the morning and the time the sun set. That ain't 12 hours, bro. It's hard for you to walk 20 miles in 12 hours. This is why Josephus told us that it was on the 14th, the 15th, and the 16th. Separating those 3 days as 3 different holy days, right? Now let's go to Leviticus 23 and read what Leviticus 23 had to say. You're going to read in Ezekiel, where Ezekiel told you that they ate unleavened bread 6 days. Well, it showed you how things had changed between the time they came out of Egypt and his time. As a matter of fact, when you read the story, for the first 40 years, the next 39 years after they left out of Egypt, didn't nobody have Passover. But you know what they thought about it. Well, I told you to go to Leviticus 23. Okay, pick that up at verse 1, my brother.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings.
5th commandment, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 4. These are the feast of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. But you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you. On the morrow, after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave.
On the morrow after the Sabbath, the Feast of Unleavened Bread was the Sabbath. So he said, on the morrow after the Sabbath, brothers talking about, man, we don't know when the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Come on, you got to do is read it. See, it's on the 16th day. So you had the 14th, the 15th, and the 16th. The 15th being a holy day, and you had to count from the go to the 16th and count from the day after the 16th to get to the first fruits. But folks always want to keep Passover this time, that time, this time, and some people even talking about eating Passover on the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Well, let's go see. 2 Chronicles 30.
That Brother Shlomo quoted and said they departed from Ramses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month on the morrow after the Passover.
On the morrow after
Still
Passover.
separated the 14th day from the 15th.
Right. We left tomorrow after the Passover. That's when they left from Ethan and went and camped by the Red Sea. And then that night, when the sun set, that night, which was the beginning of the 16th, that's when the Red Sea parted and the wind blew all night long. And then the next day, they crossed over into Egypt as the first fruits to Yahweh. Where I told you to go, man?
2 Chronicles chapter 30.
Okay. 2 Chronicles chapter 30, and pick that up at verse 1.
And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Yehudah, and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel. For the king had taken counsel, and his princes, and all the congregation in Jerusalem, to keep the Passover in the 2nd month. For they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel at Jerusalem. For they had not done it of a long time in such sort as it was written.
In other words, they was doing it another way, weren't they? Weren't they? Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
It was the Passover that Yahweh, according to law, allowed us, if we were unclean or on a journey, to keep it the 2nd month, which is what they're doing here. He never said anything about keeping the feast, the 7 days of unleavened bread in the 2nd month, but only Passover.
Right. Well, let's see what our fathers did. See, this is why I tell
folks, when we come together and decree a thing, we're going to see what happens when we come together and decree it. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. 2 Chronicles chapter 30. 2 Chronicles chapter 30, verse 6. So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Yehudah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, You children of Israel, turn again unto Yahweh Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remnant of you that are escaped out of the hand of the kings of Syria. And be not you like your fathers and like your brethren, which trespass against Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, who therefore gave them up to desolation, as you see. Now be you not stiff-necked, as your fathers were, but yield yourselves unto Yahweh, and enter into his sanctuary, which he hath sanctified forever, and serve Yahweh your Elohim, that the fierceness of his wrath may turn away from you.
In other words, a lot of folks, like you said, they were keeping it a different way. So don't you be like your fathers were. Let's do it like Yahweh said do it, right? Go ahead and read it, brother.
Verse 9. For if you turn again unto Yahweh, your brethren and your children shall find compassion before them that lead them captive, so that they shall come again into this land. For Yahweh your Elohim is gracious and merciful, and will not turn away his face from you, if you return unto him. So the posts passed from city to city, through the country of Ephraim and Manasseh, even unto Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. Nevertheless, divers of Asher and Manasseh and of Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. Also in Yehudah, the hand of Elohim was to give them one heart to do the commandment of the king and of the princes by the word of Yahweh. And there assembled at Jerusalem much people to keep the feast of unleavened bread in the second month, a very great congregation.
Now he said Passover first, right? Now he's saying the feast of unleavened bread, right? Now they call it, let's go ahead and read and see.
Verse 14. And they arose and took away the altars that were in Jerusalem, and all the altars for incense took they away, and cast them into the brook Kidron. Then they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the second month. And the priests and the Levites were ashamed, and sanctified themselves, and brought in the burnt offerings into the house of Yahweh. And they stood in their place after their manner, according to the law of Moshe, the man of Elohim. The priests sprinkled the blood which they received of the hand of the Levites. But there were many in the congregation that were not sanctified. Therefore the Levites had the charge of the killing of the Passover for everyone that was not clean, to sanctify them unto Yahweh. For a multitude of the people, even of Ephraim and Manasseh, Issachar, and Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves, yet did they eat the Passover, otherwise then it was written.
Now you see what happened? They hadn't cleansed themselves, but they went on and ate that Passover, didn't they? Go ahead, brother.
But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, the good Yahweh pardon everyone that prepareth his heart to seek Elohim, Yahweh Elohim of his fathers, though he be not cleansed according to the purification of the sanctuary.
Now see, folks like to come around NCCI and throw out law, but they don't read. See, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20. And Yahweh hearkened to Hezekiah and healed the people. And the children of Israel...
Now they had already ate Passover now, right? Now go ahead and read, brother.
And the children of Israel that were present at Jerusalem kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with great gladness. And the Levites and the priests praised Yahweh day by day, singing loud instruments unto Yahweh.
Each of the 7 days. They had already had Passover, right? So now they're doing the 7 days, right? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 22. And Hezekiah spake comfortably unto all the Levites that taught the good knowledge of Yahweh, and they did eat throughout the feast 7 days, offering peace offerings, and making confession to Yahweh Elohim of their fathers. And the whole assembly took counsel to keep other 7 days, and they kept other 7 days with gladness.
You see what they did? They kept another 7 days of unleavened bread, right? If you eat Passover on the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, they'd had to kill that lamb again, wouldn't it? Okay. Acts chapter 6. And
we come back for the second month. We still have to keep unleavened bread too, so they see here that they'll still keep unleavened bread even in the second month.
If that's what you choose to do, if you pray about that and that's what you choose to do, my brother, but it didn't give you a second month to keep Passover. They kept it on, unleavened bread.
They kept it. They kept it because this is what they agreed to do. But according to the law, it was only in the second month that you can keep Passover, not unleavened bread. That's why it told you, when you read the scripture pertaining to that, it told you when you kept the Passover in the second month, you spend your money for whatever you felt like spending your money for, and then deal with that on that day, not any other days. Okay.
There are always men like yourself that the Lord allows an appointment to make sure what's going on, even when the people are doing wrong. And people just have to understand that.
Yeah, brother, I know what that deal is, but like I said before, brother, sometimes knowledge does things to people that shouldn't do. And when knowledge does things to people that it shouldn't do, they go and they think they found something new or something to box with, and they cause a whole lot of fallout about nothing.
Amen.
About nothing. Because if we got together as a congregation, this is why y'all think I passed out the sheets by Passover. I printed 75 sheets, had them all passed out for y'all to get together, figure out your days, and bring me the sheet, right? Out of 85 people that's registered in this group here, 2 people brought a sheet. Let you know what Jake cared about it, don't you? Jake didn't give a damn which day you keep it, just so you keep it. And if you keep it on the wrong day, you want to find something to fuss about. All you had to do was put your 2 cents in the pile. Then we all could have came up with a day. We could have had a consensus on it, and we could have went on and kept the day.
Question is right.
Elder, is that if we stop thinking about a day the way we've been trained to think about a day, as day and night and day, if we go back to Genesis first, verse 5, and look at a day the way Yah said it was supposed to be looked at, when you see the 14th day at even, then you understand that that's starting the 14th day. Because if you look at it the way Yah said it, it's an even and a night, and that's a day.
Right.
So on the 14th day at even, that starts the 14th day.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Right. The 13th is just past, and you're beginning your 14th.
Exactly.
That's why we went and read that once before, where he told us to keep Passover, the Day of Atonement, on the 10th day of the month. But he told us, say, on the 9th day of the month at even, which begins to come. You're absolutely right, my sister.
The reason for why there's so much confusion is because there's daytime and then there's a day. And people use the terms interchangeably, and they're not interchangeable. If you're talking about a day the way Yah intended, evening, night, morning, day.
Right.
Daytime.
Right. And people get caught up into from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 o'clock is one evening. No, it ain't. Evening is when the sun sets. When the sun goes down, that is even. See, before that, you have morning, afternoon, then you have twilight. And then after the twilight, when the twilight is gone, no songbirds are singing. Why? Because it's dark.
But that's part of the re-education that we have to get from being in the society.
Of course.
We have to stop trying to fight battles to try and prove Gentiles right.
I know all about that. Yeah, I know all about that. The only thing I try to do is give people firm ground to stand on. And then I tell folks, now whatever day you want to do, you say that's what you do.
I was here seeing the kind of reference also that 7 days in 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 65. Solomon has another 7 days. Can you share some on that?
Sure.
1 Kings.
Go ahead and read it. We get 1 Kings
chapter 8, verse 65.
Okay, Steve, why don't you read that? 1 Kings chapter 8 and verse, why don't you pick it up at verse, why don't you pick it up at verse 62?
And the king and all Israel with him offered sacrifice before Yahweh. And Shlomo offered a sacrifice of peace offering, which he offered unto Yahweh 22,000 oxen, 120 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of Yahweh. The same day did the king hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of Yahweh. For there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. Because the brazen altar that was before Yahweh was too little to receive the burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And at that time Shlomo held a feast, and all Israel with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before Yahweh our Elohim, 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
On the 8th day Shlomo sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went unto their tents joyful and glad of heart for all the goodness that Yahweh had done for David his servant, and for Israel.
Why? Why? Because it was decreed by the king that these things should be done, and they had to do what the king said do. But go ahead and finish up, brother.
Go to 9?
Yeah.
1 Kings chapter 9, verse 1. And it came to pass, when Shlomo had finished the building of the house of Yahweh, and the king's house, and all Shlomo's desire which he was pleased to do, that Yahweh appeared to Shlomo the second time, as he had appeared unto him at Gibeon. And Yahweh said unto him, I have heard your prayer and your supplication that you have made before me. I have hallowed this house which you have built, to put my name there forever, and mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually. And if you will walk before me, as David your father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded you, and will keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom upon Israel forever, as I promised to David your father, saying, there shall not fail you a man upon the throne of Israel. But if you shall at all turn from following me, you are your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them, and this house which I have hallowed for my name will I cast out of my sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people.
Mm-hmm.
And at this house, which is high, everyone that passes by it shall be astonished and shall hiss, and they shall say, why have Yahweh done thus unto this land and to this house? And they shall answer, because they forsook Yahweh their Elohim, which brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and have taken hold upon other gods, and have worshipped them and served them. Therefore have Yahweh brought upon them all this evil.
Okay, now, brother, what we see in this is one thing. There was 14 days that the service was made, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the people was hallowed and everything, right? But why did Yahweh accept those days and appear unto Solomon? You know why? The king had decreed it and the people agreed to it. That's why. That's why. Let's go into Acts chapter 6 and pick that up at verse 1. Acts chapter 6 and verse 1.
Verse 1. And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Greeks against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them and said, it is not reason that we should leave the word of Elohim and serve tables. Wherefore, brethren, look you out among you 7 men of honest report, full of the Holy Ghost and wisdom, whom we may appoint over this business. But we will give ourselves continually to prayer and to the ministry of the word. And the saying pleased the whole multitude, and they chose Stephen, a man full of faith and of the Holy Ghost, and Philip, and Prochorus, and Nicanor, and Timon, and Parmenas, and Nicholas, a proselyte of Antioch.
In other words, these things was done in Jerusalem, and Peter presided over these things, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6, whom they set before the apostles, and when they had prayed, they laid their hands on them. And the word of Elohim increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly, and a great company of the priests were obedient to the faith.
But they had one church, didn't they? Didn't they? When things came up, they had to go back to that main church to get approval to do certain things, didn't they? See, today it don't work like that. See, what happens is today people will come and sit down 5, 6, 7 years and then get up and say, well, I'm going and do this here. See, and then they want to cut off the hand that feeds them. And that's just what happened. That's why they're always coming up with a bunch of garbage. And see, that's why they're always on the fence, trying to throw rocks on this side of the fence and trying to throw rocks on that side of the fence all the time with an olive branch out talking about, let's get together.
Because it's not about those bishops in the other churches who done broke some legs.
Yeah, I know. I know it, bro. I know it.
That's why they're able to go and continue to do what they have to do.
Y'all been gonna break some legs. Believe me.
Was this Nicholas the proselyte, was he a Gentile?
No, he wasn't.
He was just a newly convert.
He was a convert to Judaism.
Right, okay.
Doesn't mean he was a Gentile.
Okay.
Peter hadn't even went to Gentiles yet. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 8, and Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogues of the Libertines and Cyrenians and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen.
Now, Stephen full of the Holy Ghost, right? And all these heavyweights, now they want to come up and dispute, right? Go ahead. Now, the brothers has already chosen Stephen, right? And these mugs come up here, want to start some mess. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 10, and they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then they suborned men which said, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moshe and against Elohim.
Well, you go over there, there's some people that teach that the Gentiles are white folks, and that's really a lie, you know. Right. Don't read, brother.
Verse 12. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council, and set up false witnesses which said, this man ceases not to speak blasphemous words against the holy place and against this holy place and the law. For we have heard him say that this Yahshua of Nazareth shall destroy this place and shall change the customs which Moshe delivered us.
He didn't lie about that. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 15. And all that sat in the council, looking steadfastly on him, saw his face as it had been the face of an angel. Then said the high priest, are these things so? And he said, men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The El of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia before he dwelt in Haran, and said unto him, get you out of your country and from your kindred, and come into the land which I shall show you. Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans and dwelt in Haran, and from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land wherein you now dwell. And he gave him none inheritance in it, no, not so much as to set his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession, and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. And El spoke on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years. And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, said El, and after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place.
Now, remember what he said up in verse 3 now. He says, get you out of your country and from your kindred and come into a land which I will show you, right? Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 8. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision, and so Abraham begot Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day, and Esau begot Jacob, and Jacob begot the 12 patriarchs, and the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt. But Elohim was with him and delivered him out of all his affliction, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. Now there came a famine over the land of Egypt and Canaan, and great affliction, and our fathers found no substance. But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first. And at the second time Joseph was made known to his brethren, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred, 75 souls. So Jacob went down into Egypt, and died he and our fathers, and were carried over into Shechem, and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Shechem. But when the time of the promise
grew near, what promise? The 400-year captivity wasn't no promise. What was the promise? Go ahead and read it. It's going to tell you.
Verse 17. But when the time of the promise drew nigh, which Elohim had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph.
The time of the promise growing near was that he would become a great multitude, a great nation of people, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 19. The same dealt subtly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, till the end they might not live. In which time Moshe was born, and was exceeding fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up, and nourished him for her own son. And Moshe was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him, and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that Elohim by his hand would deliver him, but they understood not.
Of course not. Moses had too much power. That's why they didn't understand him. See, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 26. And the next day he showed himself unto them as they strove, and would have set them at one again, saying, Sirs, you are brethren. Why do you wrong one to another? But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away, saying, Who made you a ruler and a judge over us? Will you kill me, as you did the Egyptian yesterday? Then fled Moshe at this saying, and was a stranger in the land of Midian, where he begot 2 sons. Mm-hmm. And when 40 years were expired, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of Yahweh in a flame of fire in a bush. When Moshe saw it, he wondered at the sight. And as he drew near to behold it, the voice of Yahweh came unto him, saying, I am the El of your fathers, the El of Abraham, and the El of Esau, and the El of Jacob. Then Moshe trembled and dared not look. Then said Yahweh to him, Put off your shoes from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. I have seen the affliction of my people which is in Egypt, and I have heard their groaning, and am come down to deliver them. And now come, I will send you into Egypt. Mm-hmm. This Moshe whom they refused, saying, Who made you a ruler and a judge, the same did El send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush. He brought them out. After that he had showed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt, and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years. This is that Moshe which said unto the children of Israel, A prophet shall Yahweh your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall you hear. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us. to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt, saying unto Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moshe, which brought us out of the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him.
Okay, I don't want to go no further than that. So Stephen reiterated the things that had happened to our fathers when we were out in the wilderness to let you know that the things that were said, that he was up on, that he had the Spirit, he was up on the things that took place. Now, he told them about the circumcision, he told them about the land, and he told them about the 400-year captivity, right? Well, we haven't had a 400-year captivity yet. And we have to consider these things because when you check back and find out when the first slaves came over here, they came over here in 1612. And we right when you look at on the things that's happening on the earth today, you can very well see that our deliverance is right at hand. And with the growth of this beast, the way that Europe is spreading itself, we can very well see that it will be 400 years to the day that we get up out of this land. Now, according to the promise of Genesis 12, verse 1 through verse 3, and the covenant of Genesis 17, verse 1 through 8, Israel had become a great nation the 430 years they sojourned in Egypt. Then Yahweh passed over their sins, redeemed them from the 100 years of captivity, and they became unleavened and the first fruits to Yahweh on the 16th day of the month of Abib. When they crossed the Red Sea, our fathers became the first fruits of Yahweh's increase. We've seen all these things come to pass, so we know that Yahweh meant the things that he said to our fathers. Now, these sacred documents that we read gave our fathers the honor, the power, and the glorification of being the bride of the living eternal Spirit. These are the recipients of the covenants made with the fathers, the nation that will produce the holy seed. Therefore, the angel of the Most High's presence delivered and guided them to their inheritance of the promised land, the land chosen for Yahweh when he separated the sons of Noah and gave them their inheritance. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go back in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter, I want to pick this up at Isaiah chapter 47, and we're going to read Isaiah chapter 47. This has to do with our deliverance at the end of the 400-year captivity.
The problem is, Elder, that some of us read, but we have no conception about the power of the Almighty. Because we've been in under this thing so long and looking at it that even the small miracles that he does by waking you up every morning, we take that for granted. And we just don't have no idea of the concept. And then you got those who get puffed up with a little knowledge they want to be more than what they are. You jump in the gun and gun us other type of thing. And like you said, the Lord's going to break up some legs and knock them back down.
Oh, brother, it's on the way. It is. Let me tell you something. Yahweh has promised us eternal life. You ain't going to just stumble into this one. See, our fathers stumbled 40 years out in the wilderness, but they still went into the land, right? And this one, he done already told us 2/3 is going to be cut off and die. And just like you said, brother, we fail to realize the blessings that Yahweh gives us. Waking up in the morning, having your health and strength, just being able to go to the store and buy food, brother. That's a great blessing when you consider the people in the city here that are homeless and have not. See, we don't look at those things. What we do is this. We look for Yahweh to break a leg. And when you don't break our leg, what we do is we have a tendency to get, well, he didn't do nothing, I did this, now I'm going to do that over there. Well, he didn't do nothing, he didn't do nothing about this, I'm going to do that over there. And before you know it, you be all in all total sin in the midst of the congregation, don't even know it.
And one of the greater things that you might have is that he has opened our eyes that you can even consider to be the Hebrews of the people. I'm in the school with scholars that writing books and they can't see it.
Of course. Of course they can. Nobody believes in Hebrew. And then when you tell Jake they're the Hebrew, Jake want to take it and Jake want to take sugar. I leave that.
You got you.
I leave that alone. Isaiah chapter, you're absolutely right, brother. Isaiah chapter 47, and pick that up at verse 1, my brother. Let's deal with the destruction of America and our deliverance. This is when we will be delivered. And guess what? We will have been here 400 years to the day. And if we be here 400 years to today, that means that the captivity that he told Abraham about was 400 years. This would have to be that captivity, because when you get in the book of Numbers or Deuteronomy, he told you that we would be a stranger in a land that is not ours, and a land that our fathers did not know of. Well, when you check history, our father knew of all those lands, so the 400-year captivity would have to be in a land that our fathers did not know of, and America wasn't discovered by the Gentiles until the white folks came over here in that 1400s?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Solomon had a fleet to go over.
Sure. They went on. Look at Jerusalem was sitting on the trade routes, brother. If you had something to sell, it got sold in Jerusalem. Everybody, they had to come through Jerusalem going into Egypt. You see? And they came out of Egypt going up into Mesopotamia. And down in that Middle East there, you see. So Jerusalem, they knew about those places, but like I said, America had not been discovered. And we know that we've been over here just about 400 years. And you can't go no place from Genesis to Revelations and find another 400-year captivity except this one, in a strange land. Go ahead and read, my brother.
It says, chapter 47, verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Europe. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Aryans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover your locks. Make bare the leg. Uncover the thigh. Pass over the river.
In other words, take your clothes off, right? And pass over the river. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man.
Her shame is the fact of who she have over here as a captive and how she has treated us, and all of the nations are going to become aware that, wait a minute, them God's chosen people over there. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 4. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent, and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Aryans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kings. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke.
Right. And like I said before, folks say, well, see, when he was talking about that captivity, he was talking about Judah. He was addressing Israel. And when you look on what day that Jerusalem was besieged, it was on Passover. And all you got to do is go back a few years from that and read when the Messiah, the thing that's written in the New Testament, and you'll find out that our people was coming all over from the known world back to Jerusalem to keep those holy days. So all the tribes was represented when Jerusalem was invaded. All the tribes were sent over here. Judah was just the bulk of the tribes. And to show you that, wasn't a lady in Jerusalem there out of the tribe of Asher? During the Messiah's time? Okay. Go on and read, brother.
Verse 7. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, so that you did not lay these things to your heart, neither did remember the latter end of it. Therefore hear now this, you that are given to pleasures, that dwelleth carelessly, that says in your heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children.
Right, I ain't going to be like my mama. See, my mama got all these children scattered all out on there. I ain't going to be no widow because I ain't going to spawn no children. I'm just going to go take everything I want. I'm going to police the whole world. Right. Go on to read, bro.
Verse 9. But these two things shall come to you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon you in their perfection for the multitude of your sorceries and for the great abundance of your enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thine wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it hath perverted you. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else besides me.
Number one superpower. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it rises. And mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, you shall be able to profit. If so be, you may prevail. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, and the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from these things that shall come upon you. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto you with whom you have labored, even your merchants from your youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save.
Amen and amen. When the deal come up for our deliverance at the end of this captivity, every man is going back to his own country, and every man is going back to his own land. And the problem with us is we don't have any place to go.